What plants get from the dirt and the air, animals get from, well, whatever they can put in their mouth. Let's look at animal nutrition. Be able to define essential amino acid, essential fatty acid, vitamin, mineral, ingestion, digestion, absorption, elimination, gastrovascular cavity, alimentary canal, microbiome, ruminants, and diabetes. Relate digestion to the required biomolecules, vitamins, and nutrients. Compare digestive systems in different animals. Identify evolutionary adaptations and relate them to diet. Relate microbiome to phenology and relate digestion to homeostasis. Please note that there is a lot on the mammalian digestive system in your book, and you can feel free to read it, but we are not going to be covering that as required material for class. Organisms need nutrients, and being heterotrophs, animals need to get them from something else. Autotrophs are capable of getting nutrients from the sunlight, the soil, and the water, but us heterotrophs, well, we have the need for feed. Now, what do we need to get from the environment? Well, we need to get essential things. Any essential nutrient is what cannot be made in the body and must come from the diet. The mammalian body is capable of making many amino acids, but cannot make every amino acid. Essential amino acids cannot be made in the body, and animals are capable of making many fatty acids, but cannot add certain double bonds, and thus some acids are essential fatty acids. They must come from the diet. Likewise, vitamins are small organic biomolecules that cannot be made by the body and thus must be obtained in small quantities from the environment. Minerals are, well, they're elements, and elements cannot come from the body unless you know alchemy somehow, and I'm pretty sure you don't. You need to get iron from your environment. Once food is ingested, it has to be processed. So how are we going to process food, and how are we going to look at how different organisms process food? Well, ingestion is the act of eating. Digestion is the breakdown of what was eaten. Often this takes the form of the breakdown of proteins into individual amino acids by various enzymes. Absorption is the uptake of those small molecules. The small intestine absorbs a lot of amino acids and fatty acids, and thus can get them from the chyme that is going through the small intestine. Finally, not everything can be digested, and some things must be eliminated. And elimination is the removal of undigested wastes. Please contrast this with excretion, which has to do with osmoregulation. The simplest of all possible digestive systems is the gastrovascular cavity, which you may remember from the cnidarians, like the cnidarian shown right here, our little hydra. There is a central cavity where prey is ingested and digested. The absorption occurs by all the cells that are very close to the food. So since all cells in the body are close to the cavity, they can absorb nutrients through basic diffusion. Elimination is through the same opening as ingestion, and this is what makes the gastrovascular cavity interesting, is it just has one hole. Two holes with a tube between them are known as an alimentary canal, and that is found in earthworms, insects, and all fish and fish products. There are specializations of parts of the alimentary canal. You may remember how segmentation allows the segments to have different functions. Well, segmentation of an alimentary canal allows things to have specialized functions in terms of ingestion, digestion, absorption, and elimination. The rectum is generally involved in elimination. The large intestine is involved in the absorption of water, small intestine in the absorption of amino acids and vitamins, and the stomach often involved in the digestion of proteins. Different enzymes and processes occur in all the different compartments, and I invite you to look at the mammalian system that goes in depth about all the different things that go on in the different compartments. Not all animals need the same diet, and we are going to look at some adaptations that different animals have to different diets. We're going to start at the mouth with the different dentition or teeth that the animals will have based on their diet. We can look at the incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. The shape of these and how they are placed within the jaw tells you a lot about what the organism is eating. For example, look at these sharp incisors on the carnivore, or these clipping incisors on the herbivore. The omnivore has similar incisors to an herbivore. They're not super sharp, and they're definitely used for like clipping parts off plants or chewing into fruit. The sharpness of the canines will tell you a lot about what the organism eats. Very sharp canines made for shearing flesh are present in your carnivore. Omnivores do not have very sharp canines, but they're still the sharpest of the teeth that are present. The premolars of a carnivore are very sharp. The premolars of an herbivore are dull and can grind things well. Last off, a carnivore doesn't have well-developed molars, but an herbivore has very well-developed molars. Sometimes herbivores will have multiple molars that they will grow over the course of their lives. I invite you to check out what an elephant's molars looks like and see how many times they will replace their molars in their life. And it all comes down to whether the organism is shearing flesh, grinding plants, chewing fruit, or whatever. The length of the digestive tract likewise tells you what the organism is eating. A large intestine is needed to take in water. So an organism with a very large intestine is not only taking in a lot of water from the food it's eating, but is also probably doing a lot of fermentation. And fermentation occurs in the large intestine and in the cecum when present. The cecum, or appendix in humans, is a long part of the digestive system that kind of branches off and allows bacteria to live so there can be more fermentation of things. Now, carnivores do not need fermentation to be going on because they have enough food in their meat. They get enough nutrients directly from the meat because meat is more nutrient dense than leaves. Remember, leaves are going to be about 75% or more water. And not only does the shape of the digestive tract change, but the bacterial ecosystem or microbiome of the digestive tract will change. The bacteria in the gut are helping the organism to digest things. Some of these bacteria are capable of making nutrients, including vitamins, based on the food that they are getting. You have bacteria in your large intestine that will turn fiber into essential fatty acids. So yes, you need a diet high in fiber. And your diet will affect your microbiomes. And their diet will affect your microbiome's health. And the microbiome health is related to your health. You may note here that there are different microbiomes based on the organism and how old the organism is, as well as what the organism is eating. So it really does matter what you have in your gut. You've got a lot of bacteria. Well, what if I take antibiotics? Well, that can be problematic for the bacteria, so it's recommended that you actually get a fecal transplant sometimes recommended. You can get a fecal transplant by saving some feces for after the antibiotic treatment is over. Or, of course, just simple recommendation, just eat yogurt when you're done with your antibiotics. Taking bacteria to a whole new level are the ruminants. They have specialized bacteria that are capable of digesting cellulose. You want to eat that paper in front of you? Feel free, but you're not getting anything out of it. Feed it to a cow and they will turn it into beef. The bacteria create the essential nutrients as they break down cellulose, which are then absorbed by the ruminant in the omasum and albuminum, as well as in the intestine, of course. Rechewing allows them to oxygenate and process the food. The word to ruminate means to chew or to think things over. Basically, you're processing something. Like most body systems, there is homeostasis and there are hormones involved in the digestive tract. Let's take a look at a few. The stomach can release gastrin, which stimulates it to release more gastric juices. The small intestine can release cholecystokinin in response to a high-fat, high-protein meal, like chicken wings. And this stimulates the accessory organs, the liver, gallbladder, and the pancreas, to secrete certain enzymes. And those enzymes will help digest those high-fat, high-protein meals. Cholecystokinin is working in tandem with secretin, which is released by the small intestine to cause the pancreas to secrete more enzymes. Cholecystokinin and secretin also slow down the stomach from digesting because this allows more time in the small intestine for the breakdown of high-fat, high-protein meals and allows for more absorption of the essential amino acids and essential fatty acids. This is why it takes longer to eat a high-fat, high-protein meal, or rather to digest a high-fat, high-protein meal, and why you feel fuller longer, as well as why you may have heartburn more often after one of those meals. Leptin is a compound not shown here. That's a hormone that's released by the stomach to tell the brain when the individual is full. In terms of homeostasis, we would be remiss if we didn't look at how the accessory organs are working with glucose homeostasis. Insulin is released after the body has a lot of sugar in their blood. So the blood glucose level goes up. It's going to be away from a set point. The stimulus is it's going up. The sensor is going to be in your pancreas, which is also the control center. And that is going to give a response, giving insulin out, causing the transport of glucose into body cells, causing the blood glucose level to fall. The blood glucose level going down too long, such as after fasting, causes secretion of glucagon by alpha cells in the pancreas, and that's going to cause a breakdown of glycogen and an increase in the normal blood glucose. You can see how both of these have a set point, a stimulus, a sensor, a control center, and a response, and both of these are negative feedback. Now, diabetes can come in two forms, and we've looked at this before with hormones in terms of plants. Type 1 diabetes is an individual whose beta cells are incapable of releasing insulin. So that's a problem when the hormone is not made. Type 2 diabetes is when the body cells that are not the beta cells are incapable of responding to insulin. And that is one of those response things where the hormone cannot be received.